So we're going to discuss about more about exceptions. We have already seen about try, catch, blocks, etc., and how we can take the help of finally block. Now we're going to see how we can create our own exceptions, like the exceptions such as uh, class. We have already seen the exception, which is file not found exception, null pointer exception, etc. Now we're going to discuss about creating such an exception. The exception is nothing but a class file, right? It's a class file. So this exception is basically extending the super class which is called as exception. There is a class in Java which we call exception. So if you want to create our own exceptions, then we need to create a class, and that class should extend. If you remember, after inheritance, the class should inherit the property from its super class, which is called as exception class. So let's create one of our own exceptions. So we are going to discuss more about exceptions. So I'm going to create a new Java class. Custom exception, right? Custom exception test. Fine. Now this class is created. Now I'm having a main method, and we are having the logic written in the main method. Suppose this class is having okay, we're going to take the example of bank account. Yesterday we already discussed about how the bank account can throw some exception if it is having like if it is somebody is trying to access the bank account object and is trying to withdraw some amount. If the amount is less, if the amount that he wants to withdraw is more than the amount that is actually existing within the bank account, then the bank account class, it should throw some exception. The method should throw some exception saying that there is insufficient funds, right? So we're going to create a new Java class and the class name is going to be bank account. Okay, the Java class is bank account. Fine. And I think we have already created some previous examples. If we look at bank account, yeah, within X interface, yeah, we already have the interface bank account created. So let's copy this content, paste it over here. Fine. Now we're going to put this into a different package, BO. Now we have the interface created, withdraw and deposit. Then we are going to create, then we're going to implement this interface into a new class that's called a saving bank account. So I'm going to create a new class that's called as savings bank account. We have already created the savings bank account, so we're going to copy the contents from savings bank account. So it implements bank account, copy all the contents and let's put it into our class. Fine. This savings bank account, it should implement the bank account interface. This is clear? Anyone having any doubt? What is happening? Okay. So we are having a bank account interface. This interface is having two methods, withdraw and deposit, right? And we're creating a class, or we're creating an implementation of this interface in which we are going to provide the body of this method, withdraw, and the body of method, deposit. So we have created savings bank account. Okay. If you look at this, you will be able to understand where this one is. Okay, we are having this project structure in which we have package called BO. Within that I have the interface bank account, and savings bank account is the class which is implementing this interface. Now I am having some of the methods implementation, like withdraw method implementation and deposit method implementation. Over here you can see if somebody is calling this withdraw method and passing some amount which he wants to withdraw, and if the balance amount within the account is less than the amount the person is trying to withdraw, then we are printing hello account name and your account balance is low. Now this is how we have basically handled. And after that you can see there is a return keyword which says that when the method is being executed, if this if condition is satisfied, it is going to print this line and then it is going to return back to the caller. So after this, it should have come to this line, right? If you're talking about the normal execution flow, it should have come to this line, but this is a return statement which says that whoever is calling, it should go back from here, it should not go ahead, right? So this block of code, or this much amount of code is not executed. So now what we are going to do, we are going to create an exception, and that exception should be thrown from here. We should not print anything. The person who is calling the withdraw method is going to get that exception. So what happens, first of all, we are going to create our exception class. Okay, so let's create a new Java class and call this class, give this class name as account insufficient font. Fonts exception. Is it fine? Now we can put that into a different package called exception. Okay, now we're having the package called exception, and within that we have a class called insufficient fonts exception. As I've already told you, the exception which we are going to create, the custom exceptions that we are creating, it should always extend the super class called as exception. This super class is derived from Java's java.lang.exception. So it is derived from Java's lang package. To make this class extends the super class, we can use over here, we can give the super class which we want to accept, like extend. We can go to browse and we can type exception. You must choose this one which is called as java.lang.exception. Double click on that. Now that is like extended. We should take the constructors from superclass. It's just going to help us. We'll see. Let's click on finish. Now you can see the insufficient font exception is created, and there are some constructors which are derived from the superclass. Okay, these are the constructors. All of these constructors are like all the constructors are having the same name, but they are having a different signature. So this is called method overloading. And you can see in every constructor, it is calling the super constructors. So whenever we are trying to create the insufficient fonts exception class object, when we are trying to create the object of this class, we'll call some of the constructors, at least one of the constructor. Okay, so that constructor is going to indirectly call the super constructor. So it is going to call the super constructor, that is the exception class constructor. So let's keep these things apart. Like we don't need to change anything over here. We're just going to okay, there is a yellow mark over there. This is a warning in Java. It says that as this exception is extending, as this class is extending the super class, that is exception, and the super class is a serializable class. So serializable is a concept which makes our class serializable, so that we can transfer the state of the class via network, or we can save that class information save the information of the class in some file. So that is something which is apart, which is not within the syllabus. So we are just going to click on add default serial version ID or generate serial version ID. So both of them are going to work equal for us. So we are going to click on add generated serial version ID. So okay, you can see there is one more new private static final object is created. So fine, no issues, we have done that. It's not mandatory, but it's a warning. To avoid that warning, I have taken this one. Now it's fine. So we want to create a new object of insufficient exception. Okay, fine, but when we should create that object? When the balance is low. Okay, so we are passing system.out this information, so we are not going to do it this way. We are basically going to say, we are going to remove this return command, and we are going to create the new object, throw new. That means it is going to throw some exception. Throw new insufficient font, control space, so it will give us the way. We are going to call the second constructor. It says that you are going to pass some message. We can pass our own message, like what happened, like why we are throwing this exception. We can pass the message over here. So just copy this entire thing and paste it over here. Done. So we are calling the constructor insufficient font exception with a string parameters. We are passing the string which says that your balance is low. So we don't need this sysout anymore. Let's remove this but still you can see there is one error. As the interface is having the signature which the child class should follow or the implementation should follow, then this method basically it should not throw any exception, right? Because if you look at the interface bank account, it says that the withdraw method is there, it takes a double argument. There is no way the implementation can throw any exception, but now we want the withdraw method to throw some exception if the situation arises. To enable that, we must use this command throws insufficient fund exception. So we have written this thing. That means the child class, when tries to implement this interfaces method, the child class needs to throw this exception. So we are going to use this, copy this one and go to savings bank account. After this we need to give this one, throws insufficient fund exception. Now it is fine. So it was trying to throw some exception which was not defined within the method's body. Now we have done that. Now we can click save. So whenever the balance is low, like it is less than the amount which we want to withdraw, then this exception is going to be thrown. And remember, when the exception is thrown, as it is not within any try catch block, the code will break from here. It will go back to the person who has called, but now it will not go back normally. It will go back with some information and the exception class. Okay, now we are trying to create the object of exception class. Fine, the code is going to be same. Now what we are going to do, we are going to create the object of saving bank account, and then we'll set some amount and we'll try to withdraw some amount which is more than that amount, right? So let's do this thing. Let's go back exception test. Within the main method I am creating a savings bank account. We can either take the child class or the saving bank accounts in reference name, and we can create the object of saving bank account, or we can take the example of the super class or the super interface in this case. So we are going to take the example of bank account reference, and we are going to call it account equal to new savings bank account. So you can see the object is created. Now we are going to give an account name, my savings account, or we can say it is SDFC savings account. The balance, let's keep some 1000 rupees. Okay, it is not taking the integer type. The constructor is trying to have a double balance. Fine. So give it 0.0. Fine. Now we have created the constructor of bank account, and we have initialized the constructor with the values SDFC saving account, that is account name, and the amount, that is 1000 rupees. Fine. Then what we are going to do, we are going to display the account balance. So suppose I want to display the account balance plus dot get. Okay, there is no, okay, this is the account is the interface, right? The interface doesn't have any method of getter and setter, but if you look at the saving bank account, that is the constructor, it is having account name, balance. Does it have any getters and setters? No. So if you want to get the details like how much amount is left, okay, then we can have a getter of that. So what we are going to create over here, we are going to right click, go to refactor, source, create getters and setters. We will create the getters and setters of account name and balance, click OK. Fine, now the getter setters are created. When we go back, we cannot use the super interface reference to call the child method. So we need to make this savings bank account, and then we can call the bank account methods, saving bank account methods. So account dot get balance. So this is the account balance that is left. Then what I am trying to do, I am trying to withdraw some amount, right? So I am trying to withdraw some amount, that is going to be account dot withdraw, and the amount that I want to withdraw is some 100 rupees. Okay. Now you can see there is one thing, when we get this error, underlined error, compilation error, when we put our mouse on that, it is saying unhandled exception type insufficient font exception. If you remember of the checked exceptions, This is one of the checked exceptions. So all the custom exceptions that we create, they are going to be handled. Okay. So now we need to handle this exception. So what we can do, we can put that into a try catch block, or we can use the throws declaration. So let's do one thing, let's put that into a try catch block. If you click on that, Java Eclipse will automatically create that for us. So when somebody tries to withdraw some amount, it may throw some exception, and the method itself, it says I may throw some exception, so you need to handle it. So we need to put that thing into this try block, and we are going to catch that with here. Okay, so let's leave this, and let's go ahead and run the code. So we're creating the object and assigning value 1000 rupees, then we're printing the account balance, then we're trying to withdraw some amount. So when we try to withdraw, the withdraw method is going to be executed, invoked. It is going to check if the balance is less than the amount that we're trying to withdraw, then it is going to throw some error. Otherwise it will work perfectly fine. Then it will check if today is Sunday. Okay, if today is Saturday or Sunday, then don't allow the user. So today is not a Saturday and Sunday, so it should pass, and my balance should be updated, and I should get the updated balance printed on system. So let's do one thing, let's run the code. Right click, run as Java application. It says that the account balance is initially 1000 rupees and I am trying to withdraw 100, so the new updated balance is 900 rupees. Fine. So let's sys out, trying to withdraw plus amount to withdraw plus, okay, let's get this one. Fine. So let's run the code again. It says that account balance is 1000 rupees, trying to withdraw 100 rupees, and the updated balance is 900. Fine. So let's try to withdraw some amount more than 1000 rupees. Okay. So for example, if I want to withdraw 2000 rupees, and let's run the code. Now I can see there is some error. So it says that account balance is 1000 rupees, trying to withdraw 2000 rupees, and then there is this error which says that this is the insufficient funds exception. Hello HDFC savings account, your account balance is low. Now this is the error message that we get. Okay, this is the error message that we get. So now you can see there is this red color error, and it may not be helpful for the user. So we need to handle that. How we can do that? We can do that with the help of try catch block. In catch block, we are just using the print stack trace method. So we are not going to call this method. We are going to print the exception dot get message. So this message is going to give us the meaningful information. Right click, run as Java application. Now it is going to say hello HDFC savings account, your account balance is low. Fine. So this way we can create our own custom exceptions by extending the exception class, and when we have some if else conditions, if the condition satisfies, we throw a new exception. So this is the command which this is the keywords, this is the syntax which we need to remember. Throw new exception, the exception that we want to throw, and then we can pass some data within that, the message that we want to print. Okay, so hope this is clear. Just let me know if you need some more like help with this. Fine for all of you? Yes, Sanya, go on. Yes, this is a type of exception. Yeah. Yes, that is a class which we have created, and it's a type of exception class. When the condition satisfies, like over here, the condition says that if the balance is less than the amount that you try to withdraw, then we should tell the user or tell the caller who is calling the withdraw method, then the withdraw method should tell the caller that you don't have sufficient funds. That can be done with the help of this exception which is being thrown. It says that your balance is low, insufficient fund exception. Okay, anything else, Anna? Yes. If you have a runtime, see, there are two things. One is error, one is exception. Error is also there in Java. We have not yet like discussed about errors. But when we are talking about exceptions, if you're saying that this is a runtime exception, okay, then it is not mandatory to handle that with the help of try catch block. But still, you can handle the runtime exceptions over here. Okay. So for example, if this class is throwing some null pointer exception, okay, if some method is throwing some null pointer exception, you can handle that. You can add a new catch block and you can write the runtime exception that you want to handle, null pointer exception e, and you can print that. You can print over here there is something null. Okay. Or if you want to get some more detail about where it failed, you can use this reference e plus e dot get message. Is that fine? Or any specific other, if you want to handle all type of runtime exceptions, that is fine. You can write directly runtime exception. Okay, there is, yeah, this is the reference of this type, runtime exception types reference. Insufficient font reference, you can give any name which you want. You can write excpn if you want, but you need to refer to that variable only. There is some runtime exception, any name that you want to give. See, it's the responsibility of Java to get that exception and copy that exception over here so that you can start using this. If it's insufficient font exception, we are creating the object within saving bank. You can see this is the object which is getting created, right, with the help of constructor, and this object's reference will be automatically passed to this reference, and this is the responsibility of Java. Java will do that.
And sir, how will we know that when we have to use try catch block and when we have to use throws declaration?
See, when we have multiple layers in the application, this is the front layer. Okay, this is the user interface layer. The main method is something where the user is trying to interact, right? Mostly user moves within this main method. But there are some utility methods, or there are some like inner layer methods. If you want to access a saving bank account, you need to go to the bank account object, right? Then only you can do some operation. So when we are trying to access some inner layer methods or some inner layer objects, the methods within the inner layer, they should normally throws the exception. They should use throws exception. They should not handle any exceptions over here. It should always navigate back to the main block. So within the main block, you should have the try catch blocks. And if you have some specific like logic to handle if this exception has happened, if insufficient exception has happened, you want to send the user an email. So you can write a code, send email for failed transaction. So on the front end, you are always going to understand when something error has happened. If you are having this exception, then you will write, okay, this is wrong. You have already printed that into console, and you want to send the user that your transaction has failed. Okay, so we can write the logic over here. So it's always important to throw the exception back to the caller who has called it. Otherwise, if it needs, you can always handle that over here. You don't need to throw the exception over here. You can use a try catch block. Okay, see, the exception is,
We can use a throws declaration or a try catch blocks.
right, you can use throws declaration or a try catch block to handle the exception.
Just for more clarity, then we are using try catch blocks.
Yeah, if you want to have more like control over the code, then you can over the specific logic, then you can use the try catch block. Over here we wanted to
So
do something
where exception is here,
happening. If
while
you,
we are
yes, if you would have left this insufficient font exception etc, we would have used a throws exception over here, right? But then we won't be able to send an email. Understood? If we handle that exception, then only we'll get to know that okay, this exception has happened, let's send an email or let's send some SMS. Okay. Okay, anything else, Anya? Okay, fine. Others, it is fine for you? Okay, fine. So we're going to move to the next part. Within exception, we have already seen what are the custom exceptions, okay, and how we can handle some of the compile time exception or the exceptions that gets generated which stops our code from being compiled, those compilation exceptions, and also some exceptions which occur at runtime. We have seen how we can use try, catch, and finally block. And I think exception is now something which we have understood. We need to practice some more examples to understand it better.